Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and this is Comic Uno episode 45, and this is a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. This week we got 3 digital and all the rest printed, and it's 16 comics, so I'm going to be going worst pick of the week to best pick of the week, so let's get started. So number 16 is worst pick of the week. I'm going to say nothing was horrible this week, so even though this is worst pick of the week, it wasn't horrible. That's Lazarus, issue 8. I gotta say the series has been tending to go really low on my list, so I will be dropping Lazarus for the time being, until I guess the arc gets better, but I just feel like the story is just going really slow, and the same thing has been happening issue by issue. We keep focusing on this group that we don't really know much about, but they're family, and it seems like they're trying to have a plot against the family, and forever, just, being that, person that's stuck out in her family. She's the odd one out in her family, and we keep playing on that, but it's the same thing over and over again. Art's a little too dark for me. I really like the premise of Lazarus, so I'm really upset to say I'm going to be dropping it, but, it really needs to progress a little bit more, and it's sad to see that, it's been on my bottom a lot, so it looks like I am going to have to drop it for the time being. So that's Lazarus. I just wasn't totally impressed with it. I think the story needs to progress a little bit more. Alright, number 15 is Buffy, Season 10, Issue 2. Not a bad issue, but another series I just feel like I couldn't get into. I think I'm going to have to read Buffy from the beginning to really get into this one. I love the Buffy TV show, and I think there's just a lot going on. A lot of, I think they're getting into themselves a little bit with this show, or with this comic. Giles is a kid, Buffy has to defeat these vampires. They're not really vampires. They're stronger than her. And, Xander's with Dawn, which is really weird to see. So there's a lot of weird things going on in this series. That I think to see how they got to this point, I'm going to have to read the other 2 chapters to see how this got to this point. I think Buffy will be a better trade read, so I think that's what I'm going to do with Buffy. I think it's just a little bit too weird to jump into Season 2. But the arc's pretty good, and the story wasn't bad. It's just, I don't know. For me, I just couldn't get into it. So that is number 15, and I gave that 3 stars for Buffy. Alright, so number 14 is Guardians of the Galaxy, issue 14. Yeah, so I thought this wasn't a bad issue also. I just thought the timeline didn't quite work with this series. We have Venom joining the team. We don't know exactly why, but it's going to be explained in Free Comic Book Day. And then we have Captain Marvel, who joined up with Guardians of the Galaxy in her issue 2, but it's not with the Guardians of the Galaxy here, but she's going to them. Thought that was a little weird. And then the other 2 stories that I felt out of place and wasn't really needed. They could have used extra space for a double-sized story instead of these 3 other stories, which I kind of have a gripe about with anniversary issues. They usually have like, oh, here's 2 short stories. There you go. Saying having one really big, cool story. I think that would be better with these anniversary issues, and why I kind of like annuals a little bit better. There's some really cool anniversary issues like Daredevil. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and that was really good. But, with the other 2 stories, I get to see Groot. Most of the issue is just him saying Groot. It was funny, but, like, $4.99, I don't know. And I had so many other comics to read, and this was, like, one of the last issues I was reading. I'm like, alright, we get it. So it might have been the time frame I was reading it also, and the mind frame I was reading it. And then the last story was actually interesting, but I'm like, well, where does this go? The last story is about these future Guardians. They need this girl. I searched the girl's name, never heard of her. She's not in the comic book. She's a new character. And it seems like, oh wow, this girl's special. What are you going to do with her? Nothing, because the story ends. It's not continuing anywhere, so I just thought it was kind of a waste. I'm like, oh, what happened to this girl? Why are these future Guardians? Like, why are you telling this story? So that's how I felt with the last story, even though the art was pretty good and the story was interesting. It's just like, where are you going with it? So yeah, overall, I thought it was an okay issue. It could have been a lot better. Again, the timeline for that first story, because I really liked the Star-Lord and his father moments. I thought that was the best thing about this issue, and there's some humorous parts here. And I thought the first story wasn't actually that bad. It just, timeline-wise, it wasn't great. So I'd probably given it a little higher grade if it was just that story. But since we have these other 2 stories, it had to decrease the grade a little bit more. So I'm going to give this 3 stars. I just thought it was okay. I just don't think it's worth $4.99, especially since these stories are going to be explained probably in another issue with Free Comic Book Day, and probably Captain Marvel, honestly. I think a future issue with Captain Marvel will be explained, so I don't think you need to pay $4.99 for it. Alright, so we have I think we're up to 13. Yes, number 13 is Secret Origins, issue 1. Not a bad issue. This is like getting into like, hey, this is actually really good turf here. After all that, those are just the issues I thought were bad this week were the ones I just reviewed, but now we're getting to good turf here. So Secret Origins, I liked, but do you need to pick it up? I think they have a great angle with these stories because the origin stories we're being told is Superman, Supergirl, and Robin. Origin stories we've seen, I think, about 10,000 times now. I really like Superman's angle is about his mothers. I thought they did that well. Robin's angle is really seeing how Dick is different from Batman, and how he grew as a person and still lived life though. And I think that's always been Dick Grayson's character. So I like that. And then we got to the third story where it's Supergirl, and I really don't like her New 52 origins, and it's kind of in your face with that story. How she's like, I don't really like Earth, but I'm here, so whatever. I don't get Earth. I just learned English. Don't like my cousin. Let's push him away. But yeah, we've seen that if you've read Supergirl, you don't really need to read that Supergirl Origins. But if you're a new comic book reader, I think Secret Origins is a really good jumping off point with these characters. I just wish Secret Origins would pick other characters, honestly. I think these are characters we know about. I like the angles they use. I thought it was really good. But give us some characters we don't know much about. Like, even New Girl for Justice League United. This could have been a perfect place to tell in Secret Origins. Tell me more about Martian Manhunter. I don't really know his New 52 origins. Because these characters we've seen in their New 52 origins already. So give me characters, even if I do know them, like Batgirl. I haven't really heard of her New 52 origins. Give me that. Give me spoiler in here or something. I think that would be a lot better. Even if you do pick popular characters, give me popular characters, stories that haven't been told yet. So yeah, that was a little bit of a gripe, but the stories aren't that bad. So if you're a new reader, I definitely recommend this, but you might get a little bored if you've been reading comics for a while. So I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. It wasn't bad, but had a couple of gripes with it. Alright, so now I think we're up to number 12. Let's see. Number 12 is Comic Frontline exclusive, which is Red Lanterns, issue 30. Atrocitus and his cat are not in this issue that much, but we see him in the end. I like Red Lanterns a lot better than the Supergirl, I think, even though you have to read both pretty much to really get the story, and they even say in the end, get Supergirl, get Red Lanterns, which I don't think she's going to be a Red Lantern for long anyways, just seeing this, I don't think she will. And Red Lanterns is a series I like, but I never really get excited for. It's kind of that middle ground series, like, well, it's good, but I never get excited until I actually start reading it. And with this issue, I thought it was pretty good. We get to see more Red Lanterns. I think we have an actual story going on with these lanterns. Guy has to get these lanterns, and will Atrocitus get him first, and will he confront Atrocitus? And I think my favorite part was the Blitz and Supergirl relationship. I thought it was really fun that Blitz tried to be friends with Supergirl. There's actually some really cool interactions with, I don't know all their names because I just started reading this series. But with him, he always switches sides. He's like, oh, I'm not a weak person. I know that. He's like, yeah, you are, because you keep switching sides. And now that Atrocitus might win, you want to switch sides again. So yeah, there's actually a lot of cool character moments like that in this issue that really made me enjoy the issue. So I'll give it 3.5. Again, it's a series I don't get totally excited for, but I do like enough to keep picking up and to see where it goes. Especially since I think this is one of the better Lantern titles. I really like the cliffhanger also with Atrocitus, and I think that's going to be a really cool story arc, so we'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, so I'll give that 3.5 stars. Alright, number 11 is a digital comic, which is the last issue of this series, which I'm sad to see. That's Shotgun Wedding, issue 4. I recommend this miniseries. It was a lot of fun. Art is great. I'll keep saying that. The black and white and the art style they use is just great. I love it. It's really cool. Assassination, spy type series, and it's a wedding also. I think the only problem I have with this, because yeah, no, they live happily ever after, yeah. But the wife is so gullible. She's like, alright, honey, let's go home. I don't care you're assassin or anything. She doesn't even talk about it. She just kind of gets married to him in the end. So I thought that was a little weird, because we're following these characters' stories, and she's just kind of like, hey, let's get married. I don't care who you are. She doesn't really discuss it with him, so I thought that was a little weird. So that is why it's a little lower, but it's still a good issue. I did like Shotgun Wedding, and it's a really cool miniseries. If get these 4 issues at a cheap price, which I think you can, or get it in trade. It was a really fun weekly series for this month. So it was kind of like Bushido that came out every week. I had a lot of fun with it, so I'm going to give that 3.5 stars. I thought this was a little bit of the weaker issue for the series, but still a really cool series, especially for the art. Alright, so let's go into number 10, which is Elektra, issue 1. And I wanted this to be a little higher. Actually, when I read the first 5 pages, I'm like, wow, this is going to be my pick of the week. And then it just kind of went a little bit towards the end. I'm going to say for Elektra, the narration, I loved it. I loved how Elektra described herself. Her being an assassin is like, I'm not a hero, I'm an assassin. I am nothing like my parents, and I really love that she left her other life behind. So even if you haven't read Elektra, this is the new Elektra, or, you know, what the Elektra always has been, but now it's not hiding it. And now it's Elektra by herself. Elektra's always been, well, let's go Daredevil, let's go fight. Or it really has always been connected to Daredevil. So now Elektra's going on her own, and I really liked it. I love the narration. Now, the only gripe I really had with the story, which I'm a little scared for, is the rest of the dialogue and the rest of the story, is that she's going after this guy who kills all these assassins to get their contacts. So I thought that was a little weird. I want to learn a little bit more about him. I couldn't really get into that story as much. And then we have this other guy who's this African soldier person who has Bullseye and held him captive. And that's what's going on with Bullseye, which I really like the Bullseye ending, because we know Bullseye killed Elektra, changed her life. So I do like that story. So there's a lot of story that's really cool here. But then there's that middle story. It's like, oh, why should I care? And I think art is going to really maybe push people away. I personally thought it fit the story well. I don't know how it's going to go issue by issue, but I liked, like here, with her narration, I thought this was perfect. But it's kind of hard to get into the story because it's so much of a painting. So I hope we could, especially with the dialogue stuff, we could get into the story more with this artwork. But I'm going to have to see more issues to see where that goes. But honestly, really like the first issue. I thought it was a really good first issue. Love the narration. Really like the art. We'll see where it goes. I could change my mind with the next issue. It could get boring. It could be like, maybe this is the wrong direction. But with this first issue, I think it did work. So I'm going to give it 4 stars. You know, I would say try it out for yourself. It's really, I think, is your taste. People are gonna like it. People are not gonna like it. It's definitely a book that's gonna be for certain people's taste, and I really hope it's my taste because I want to get into this character because I've read that stuff with Elektra, but I want to get more into her character. So that's a 4-star book for me, and that was number 10. All right, so number 9 is Avengers Undercover, issue 3. Another really solid issue that I enjoyed this week. Avengers Undercover is kind of weird for me because, another, just like Red Lanterns, it's like I'm not excited to read it when I have it in my pile. I'm like, oh, well, Avengers Undercover, I guess I'll read this. But once I start reading, I'm like, oh, this is why I have this on my pull list. And that's how I always feel with Avengers Undercover, especially since I like the characters. I'm a big Runaways fan, so to see some of the Runaways, it's cool to see that. And then I know most of the characters. I would say I know half of the characters, because I didn't really read Avengers Arena. But I do know half because I'm into the teen hero stuff. So with this issue, we get to see that our heroes go against Arcade. And, some people react to it in different ways. And Hazmat, one of my favorite points of this issue is that Hazmat is just, like, stunned. She can't move. But once she sees Arcade's just bored. That's what he is. He's just bored. He wants to play with his toys. And that's his little minions here. But Hazmat's like, you die, and kills Arcade, which I thought was a really powerful scene that made the issue for me. And now we have these other villains, like Madam Mask and others, who are controlling our heroes. What do they want with him? What do they want with them? And why did they want them to kill Arcade? And I think that'll be interesting. Now more people are pulling strings, which we already saw with Avengers Arena. How are they going to react to this? That more people are trying to control them. So I really like this issue, probably for the cliffhanger, probably most of all for Hazmat's reaction. That was really my favorite part. If Hazmat's reaction wasn't there, I think this would be lower on my list, because I think that really made the issue for me. It makes me keep going for the series. I don't know how long this series will be on my pull list, but I really did enjoy this issue, and I like, even though I haven't read Avengers Arena, you understand how powerful that was. And the art's good. I think that's something that does pull me away, is the art. It's a little weird, but I guess it fits the series. I know it's the same artist from Avengers Arena, so I'm sure those people that read that series are a little bit more used to it, and I don't really love the covers. I think it's very dark, the covers, so it's kind of hard to get excited for it. But yeah, really cool issue. I thought it was solid. Again, that scene really made this issue for me, and we'll see where it goes. Again, I don't know how long it'll stay on my pull list, but I hope it stays there for a while, and I can start getting excited for the title. Alright, so now we're up to number 8, which is a title I just recently put on my pull list, and that's Uncanny Avengers. Yeah, I think this series has totally improved since I last read it. I only read that first issue, and I read that Rogue and Scarlet Witch death. And those are the last issues I read, and now I was like, oh, you know what, this actually looks pretty interesting, and I'm glad I picked it up from here, because it's a really interesting, new reader-friendly arc from last issue. We get to see that the Mutant Council are pretty much Cyclops, Magneto, so our Uncanny X-Men, our new X-Men Council of Earth X, and we get to see that Havoc's going to team up with people like Kang, and I think Dr. Doom he is teaming up with also, and Spider-Girl of Earth X, just to save his daughter. And Kang's like, well, I'm going to take away your daughter for now, so you either team up with us or don't. So he's got to save his other world with the help of Wasp and Beast, and we'll have to see where it goes. Will he leave Earth X, and how will he leave Earth X, and how will he get to the regular world, and what does that mean about his daughter? Will we see his daughter in the regular universe? I think that'll be really interesting, especially if we see this old Havoc with this daughter of Wasp, and we've seen this in X-Men before, but I think that'll be interesting, especially since, you know, Scott Summers and Jean Grey, we've seen that before, so, yeah, I like this issue. I think what really grabs me is the art. I love the coloring for this story arc, and I love the connection between Havoc and his daughter. I think that really got to me in this issue. I thought it was really solid. I like the direction it's going. It's something different, and I think it's a story arc you can really get into. So I recommend the last issue. Jump on Uncanny Avengers again. I think it's become a better series, and I'm glad I'm picking up some Avengers titles again, because I can't read new Avengers or Avengers. I just can't anymore. Alright, so next is number 7, which is a Comic Frontline exclusive, which is Fantastic Four, issue 3. Yeah, I just thought this was a really solid issue. I felt like my Fantastic Four again. I felt like they were a little less out of character, which I've been feeling a little bit with Fantastic Four with this series, but I think they were totally in character with this issue. And, you know, Johnny's just dealing with him losing his powers. I think Sue's really dealing with her daughter leaving. We get to see a little bit of Valerie in this issue, just seeing what she's doing. I'm sure she'll play a bigger part as the series goes on. Thing rehashing a relationship with Alicia, and Reed trying to figure out how to save Johnny. And that's the issue. It's a solid issue. It's a point A to point B issue, and it felt very old Fantastic Four to me. The art was really good. I can show some examples of that. I think there was a lot of good story going on with all the characters. It wasn't just like, here's Johnny, here's Johnny. Yeah, so it's not just Johnny, it's not just Sue. It's really all these characters and all their problems that are probably going to stew together into one big Fantastic Four problem as the story arc goes on. So, yeah, I thought this was a really solid issue. I can't wait to see when everything actually blows up in everyone's faces. All these problems, or all these, you know, especially Johnny's problems, not having powers. But I do think they're going to have to get a story arc pretty soon. Yeah, especially with Fantastic Four, I think they're going to have to get some sort of story arc, maybe some villain. But I do like that they're just dealing with the family stuff right now. And I would like to see some maybe cliffhangers, some emotional moments that we haven't seen here yet, which I think the Fantastic Four is in much need of, but is a cool point A to point B issue here. So I think this is one of the best Fantastic Four series in a really long time. So hopefully James Robinson goes in a good direction with that. Alright, number 6 is Superior Spider-Man Team Up, issue 12. Really, really cool issue. I wasn't expecting this to be so good. This is the last issue of the series, and I think it's a really good tie-in with Superior Spider-Man, especially since we didn't really get any closure with Superior Spider-Man. With Dr. Octopus, he just died, and that's it. There was no real closure, and I think we got a lot more closure here. The only gripe I have with this issue, made a lot of jumping story. We get to see, you know, Dr. Octopus with his old girlfriend, and then, you know, Peter back, and this old story with Norman and Dr. Octopus. So the jumping was a little weird. Love that Ron Frenz did the art here, and one of the characters actually looked exactly like May. You can probably see over there. I don't know if, you know, Ron Frenz, you know, just could draw, you know, a lot of faces like May, or it's just a little hint, hey, look, it's kind of May here. So I don't know what direction is going with that. But I was happy to see something that looked kind of like May here. So love Ron Franz's art, and I think the coloring is so classic here too that I really enjoyed that with the issue. But yeah, going back to it, I think this is a really good closure for Dr. Octopus, going in his mind a little bit more and understanding why he became Superior Spider-Man, giving him some empathy too. I really like this, like, oh no, it's not because I want to be superior. I just want to defeat Green Goblin because he destroyed my loved one. He killed my loved one. So I wanted to defeat him, and that became my sole mission. And maybe I did lose myself around it, but that was why I started this mission. And I like that. He wanted to kill Spider-Man more because he wanted to defeat Green Goblin. And it meant more in this issue than I think it was explained in other stories. And then I think let me see who writes this. Kevin Schnick was really able to tie into the Superior Spider-Man title really organically with this issue. So really cool, solid issue. If you're a big Superior Spider-Man fan and wanted closure, I do recommend Superior Spider-Man Team Up. I thought this was a really good closure book, so I'm gonna give that 4 stars. And it's something I really recommend about the series in general. This was a very good tie-in series. More than Avenging Spider-Man, that was more one-shot stuff. This was a very good tie-in series, so I really recommend this. Alright, so now we're up to top 5. All really good books here in top 5 land. So, here is number 5. Flash, issue 30. Was not expecting this to be so high. I'm not a big Robert Venditti fan. Not a big, Brett Booth fan. Not at all. I dropped Green Lantern. Don't really like the direction Robert Venditti's going in. And I hated Teen Titans. Not really because of Brett Booth's art, but just did not like this series at all, the direction they went, and I didn't love the art for the series. Don't think it really fit the characters, but I really like Brett Booth's art here because it was really different from Francis Matapool, and I didn't really think about Francis Matapool's and Brian Buccellato's run because this felt so fresh and different, and Robert Venditti had a direction here, which I think he's been having problems with Green Lantern, but this had a really good direction. I thought it was really new reader friendly, and that's why, if you are a new reader, this is a great jumping on point. But then it also had some really good planted seeds for this next coming story arc. Getting excited for the annual with Wally West and this future Barry. Like, how did he become this blue Flash? What happened to him? What's going on here? So, I really liked it. I really liked how they planted the seeds. Thought the art fit here. It was a really good jumping on point for people. Really solid issue. Almost a 4.5. Didn't quite make it, but it is a 4-star book. Really enjoyed it. So I recommend it. I'm really happy with this issue. Hope it keeps going in this direction with this creative team. Alright, so number 4 is Daredevil, issue 2. This was good. I don't think it was as good as issue 1. Love the structure of issue 1, but this is good too. We get to see some mentions of Foggy. I love the team up between McDuffie and Daredevil. McDuffie having this little iPod filled with Avengers information. I thought that was really cool. I really like how she's become the sidekick for Daredevil. And then we have this new villain, anti-hero. Well, first an anti-hero, but becomes a villain. And I love that Mark Waid's just poking fun at DC Comics. Because this owl, this is his name, has the same origins as Batman. Same exact origins. Oh no, devastating death. He has to go to the Appalachians and learn magic. Is such a poke at DC. And then we find out that this Batman character is the villain of the story. And I just thought that was perfect. So I think what made this issue for me is that this guy was Batman. He was Batman. They're poking fun at it. I thought it was perfect. I love the art for the issue. Why it's not on the top. I just thought the other issues were a little bit better that are by top. I think issue 1 was a little bit better. But this is really good. I enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun with it. And I love what Mark Waid's been doing with Daredevil. So pick this up. If you want to see Batman being poked fun at, read this, because it's definitely Batman. And I'm excited to see where this character goes, because he is this villain, and we'll have to see how much of a villain he is. So, very excited about that. So, and hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about Foggy. I think that was still a cliffhanger, and we didn't really get to see that much with this issue. So we'll see what happens. I love the reaction of everybody with San Francisco and how Daredevil has changed their lives for 3 weeks. I thought that was really fun. Alright, so number 3 is Justice League United, issue 0. Love this issue. Really good issue. One thing I love about this team is their roster. I think it's so unlikely heroes that just works. Green Arrow was funny, and it's weird because Jeff Lemire is writing Green Arrow, and he feels like a total different character here, which is good, but funny at the same time. He's poking fun at Animal Man. I love the connection Stargirl and Martian Manhunter have here, and a great introduction to Adam Strange, and our new character, I'll look up her name, Mia Bin. She just finds out she has powers, and I'm excited to see how she integrates with the Justice League United. I think it's going to be really interesting. Our 2 new characters, Adam Strange, obviously not as much as a new character. I think they introduced him really well. I'm excited to see more of his wife. And the thing about the wife, I was a little confused by in the end, is that it seems like she's so used to seeing all these people. She's being held captive, but she's like, oh, hey, Lobo, hey, Hawkman. I'm like, I know you've been captive for a while, but how the hell do you know who Hawkman is? So I was a little intrigued by that, and why Elena's so confident. We'll have to see as the issues go on. And another gripe I had was, like, why is this issue 0? This could have been a perfectly issue 1. But those are very small gripes for the issue because I thought it was such a fun issue. The art is great. And I just love the interaction between these heroes, and I can really see this being one of my favorite team books. So read this if you want some unlikely heroes. If you like the roster, I think you'll have a lot of fun with this. And especially if you're a Pre-Nuke 2 fan, it had a really cool vibe here. So it had that same type of vibe. I love that Lemire could change tones so well. He writes stuff like Sweet Tooth, and then Green Arrow, and then Justice League United. It feels like totally different books in a really great way. Alright, so let's get to number 2, which is, surprisingly, an event book. Original Sin, issue 0. Wow, I was really shocked by this. I really love this issue. I really wasn't expecting anything. Honestly, I was picking up issue 0. It's just like, alright, let's try this event. Like, rolling my eyes. Like, oh, let's try this event. I never really cared about the Watcher. I've said this 10,000 times. I'm not a big Cosmic Marvel fan. So I was like, alright, let's give Original Sin a try. But, this was an issue that, compared to Justice League United, this was a needed issue 0 to get into why to care about the Watcher, why do we care if he's going to die, and I think they did this really well job by using Nova. Reason I couldn't give this 5 stars is because half this issue is a Nova recap, so if you've been wanting to get into Nova, this is actually really a great recap for the series, which you should be reading already. But yeah, it's a really great recap of Nova, and I love his connection with the Watcher, and he goes to the Watcher, try to ask a question to him, but at the same time learns about the Watcher, why he's silent, why he can't say anything, but knows everything, and he sees what the Watcher sees, and he sees he has daddy problems, just like Nova did, because his dad said, no, you can't say anything, you can't control anything, because this can happen, and now that's why the Watcher doesn't say anything, and Nova says, you know, I understand what's going on, I truly do, but can I ask you, is my father alive? And obviously the Watcher understands that, and probably that's the reason why he connects to Nova, and he says he's alive. It's like the first time the Watcher's ever talked. He talks to Nova. And I love this issue because it's such a cool friendship. The art's great. I think the writing's great. And it shocked me. I wasn't really expecting to like this issue at all. And I really like the Watcher, and I care for if he dies. And I think that's a great achievement for issue 0. And if you don't know much about the Watcher, and even if you do and just want to get more into his head, Original Sin is a great read, especially if you're a Nova fan also, because it just felt like a Nova issue to me. So read it. Really good issue. I give it 4.5 stars, and I'm actually excited for Original Sin. I hope it goes in this direction, because most of the time with these events, it's like, it starts out really good, and then it's like, yeah. So hopefully it doesn't do that, and it stays this good. Or at least, solid. I'm Xing solid. I'm not even Xing like 5-star book. Give me a solid event, Marvel. But so far, it's going in a good direction. Alright, what is number 1? What do you think number 1 is? I've been talking about this forever. Batman Eternal, issue 3. Stephanie Brown, guys, Stephanie Brown. So excited to get this issue. Yeah, you guys know my reaction when she was announced she was going to be in this issue, going to be in the New 52. But I also had worries about this issue because, like, how about they change her character too much? How about, I had all these things that in my mind, like, how about they just don't do her justice? And I'm going to tell you guys, they did her justice. I did not give this 5 stars, though. There were a couple of gripes here. I think they could have used Stephanie a little bit more in this issue, especially since it was her introduction. And that's not even as a Stephanie fan. That's just looking in the issue. I thought they could have used her a little bit more. And there were some slow parts of, you know, Batman trying to figure out what's going on with Gordon. I understand that was needed, but there's some slow parts with the Penguin. I don't know where that's going to go. But I think some interesting parts before we get into Stephanie is the ending. This guy who I love that they didn't sneak that he was a villain. It's like, oh, no, he's a villain, guys. Don't worry. He's a villain. You're going to admit it here. They're not going to try to trick the audience, which I was very happy about. So the new commissioner is wanting to target Batman. And says, hey guys, police officers, yeah, you're not going to get the gang war. You're going to try to get Batman instead. So I thought that was really fun, you know, just more downward spiral for Batman. How is he going to get out of this? And maybe that's how he ends up being in that first scene that we saw in issue 1, you know, burning Gotham with a bat symbol in his chest. Who's going to do that? Who's working with Falcone. I thought they did that very well, and one thing I've been totally impressed with these weekly series, it's coming out every week, but there's always that shock factor with every issue, which I think they do very well, and it's not filler. It's not like, oh, here's point A, point B. It's really a stepping, every issue gives us another step to that ending of where we saw in issue 1. But let's talk about Steph, because, you know, that's why it's up here. That's why it's number 1. I thought Steph was really written well here. They changed her origins a little. They did, but they did it in a way that didn't change who she was. And that was what I was always asking. Like, you could touch up her origins, but don't change the character. And they did that perfectly with this issue. Stephanie Brown didn't know her father was a villain. In Prenup 2, she did. And finds out her dad's a villain, and that's not even the worst part. Finds out that he's a horrible dad at the same time. He's working with Falcone, knows these secrets that no one else knows, so she's going to be a big factor. And she has to run away. Her dad was going to kill her because she knew. And I think that's the best part, and me and Jay were actually talking about this. It reminds us, and I was thinking the same thing, it reminds us of Young Justice, Artemis, just the way Sportsmaster interacted with Artemis. And I really hope they go in that direction, make Stephanie Brown maybe a hybrid of Artemis at the same time, because we don't know anything about Stephanie's mother either. She was talking to her on the phone, but will Stephanie's mother be this nurse, or will she maybe be an ex-con? That would be really fun. I think that would be a new twist that Stephanie Brown, obviously I'm a humongous Stephanie Brown fan, could accept, but also be new, fresh, but still our Stephanie Brown. And I think that would be really fun. I think we had the fun factor in her character. You could hear in her voice making these sarcastic remarks to her mother. Yeah, it's just, you could tell this is Stephanie, which is great, but it's still such a fresh story. And I like that. I really hope they go in the same direction with that. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with Stephanie with every issue, hopefully. We'll see. Really great introduction. That's what made it my number 1 pick. Really liked it, so I'm going to give that 4.5 stars, and that is all the issues I read this week, and that was my best pick of the week, all the way to, my worst pick of the week, all the way to my best pick of the week. So tell me, guys, what was your best pick of the week? What was your worst pick of the week? Talk about all the comics you read this week. What do you think? Do you agree with me? And of course, I'll have Comic Uno episode 46 up next week, and hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys later, and don't forget to follow me on Twitter for Comic Uno and The Right Situations, and don't forget to like my Facebook page, and I'll see you guys later.